There are over 100,000 people who immigrate to New Zealand every year with the intention to make New Zealand their home, leaving behind everything they know as normal day-to-day life and having to learn new ways of doing things, new norms, new cultures, and different values. There are many people who struggle with this transition and find it challenging to adjust and settle, so they can call and make New Zealand their home. The purpose of this podcast is for me to share my journey and our challenges with the hope that you can learn from me and my family and have a softer landing. There will be good days and bad days, but with time, more good days. I believe we have made the right choice for our family. I want to try and help you do the same, but hopefully with a softer landing. This is Soft Landing, and I am your host, Brett Corlett.
Welcome to this podcast, designed for anyone thinking about, preparing for, or who has just immigrated to New Zealand. Subscribe now so you never miss an episode. Drawing from his personal experience, this series will guide you through the process of preparing for your move and helping you navigate the challenges of immigration.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my podcast. First off, I just want to really thank those of you that take the time to listen to me regularly and not only listen to my podcast, but follow me on all my social media platforms like YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, etc. I really appreciate your guys' support. And I'm hoping that I'm continuing trying to help and add some value and help you with your immigration journey. And hopefully you'll continue to be able to learn from us and just hopefully together we can make New Zealand home. So really, I'm just so grateful, guys. Thank you for all your support. If you guys are new and this is the first time you're listening to me and joining us, I do ask, stay obviously and listen to this podcast today. I'll get into the topic shortly, but I do ask, go back to episode number 1. I do try and share my journey in chronological order so you can get to know me a little bit better. I think it's important for you to understand where I'm coming from and what my experiences have been and what I'm actually trying to achieve here. I mean, I want you to try and understand why I'm sharing this information and what we're trying to do. Immigration's a tough thing. This is definitely not for sissies, that's for sure. And the whole intent here is just to try help each other so we can actually genuinely make New Zealand home. So on that one, what I really wanted to share today is something, it could be controversial, it could be a little bit of a tough one, and I know I always try to keep it positive and upbeat, but what I really wanted to tackle today is a lot on social media. I've been seeing a lot of different people on different platforms around immigration where it's tough out there in the market. A couple of things. Let me explain where I'm going with this. So the first thing that's really tough is there's a lot of people that want to immigrate here. They're trying their darndest to get that first interview and to get a foot in the door so they can even start the visa process and even get here just to make New Zealand home. And that is the first challenge that they're finding extremely difficult. They're applying for hundreds and hundreds of jobs and just getting no responses. Sometimes they get responses, but it's rejection after rejection, which is extremely tough to deal with. And it's so difficult to stay motivated and to keep pushing on when you can't even get that first step done, let alone getting to a stage of doing visas, etc. And getting here to try and work together on the challenges that you have with immigrating. It's you can't even get a foot in the door. So that's the first challenge a lot of people are having. The next challenge that I'm seeing a lot of people are having is those that have arrived here. And there's a lot of people that have lost their jobs once they've got here. So they've started working, but then they've gone through restructures or a consultation process in the company that they've started with, and they've actually lost their jobs. Now, that's extremely stressful because some people, their visas and the way they've got here, it's linked to that job. Now they've got to find another job to link to their work visas. Otherwise, they have to go back to the country they've come from, which is extremely stressful. It goes without saying, if you don't have income coming in, how do you keep a roof over your head and feed your family? So that's a tough one. So it's tough on both ends at the moment in the market. So I think what I wanted to do is I wanted to give a little bit of a lay of the land. I've been spending a little bit of time over the past week and a bit trying to do a little bit of research and trying to get my head around what the hell's going on. why are things so tough and what is actually happening, so I can share with you guys a little bit. And over and above doing the research online, what I've also been doing is I've met with a couple of immigration agents. I've spoken to actual agents. I've spoken to owners of immigration companies. I've spoken to recruiters. I've spoken to a couple of other people that are in my industry that employ people and what's going on. Just a couple of other people that are immigrants as well as Kiwis, and just trying to get an understanding of what's their mindset and their feel on what's happening in the country at the moment with relation to immigrants and jobs and all the rest of it in the economy. Also just reading a lot of feedback on my social media from a lot of you to try and understand what's going on. And that's why I thought it was important for me today. I have to give a little bit of share a little bit about the lay of the land of New Zealand right now. Where are we at in New Zealand and why is all of this happening and what's going on? Now, again, I'm no professional, guys. I'm not an expert. So this is all from my personal experience. This is all in my opinion. But I really wanted to share this. So starting off, I think the thing we got to realize is that New Zealand at the moment we're only just starting to come out of a recession. Times have been extremely tough the last few years here in New Zealand. So we're only slowly starting to come out of that recession. But what that does mean is while we've been in that recession, our unemployment has risen. We've gone from a 3-point-something odd percent of unemployment up to 5-point-something percent of unemployment. And a lot of people say in comparison to a lot of other countries, that's not a lot. But it is a lot if you think about the size of our country. New Zealand is not big. I think we've got between 5 and 6 million people in the entire country. So it is a small market. It is a small country in comparison to a lot of other countries. So when we are having an unemployment rate growth from 3-point-something odd to 5-point-something odd, that 2% is big in the bigger scheme of things for us. It does have a knock-on effect because what it's meant for us immigrants is, and it's not just immigrants, it's locals, it's Kiwis, it's everyone that is here at the moment, that we're all in this together and we're all struggling. It's not just immigrants. What it does mean is that if you think about the new government that came in a year and a bit, 2 years ago, whatever else, they first went and did a whole lot of restructuring and everything in the public sector. So I think in the last year alone, there's been over 6,000 people that have been let go in public sector, okay, that have lost their jobs. And not just immigrants, people that just work in public sector. So what that means is that the market has literally been flooded with a whole lot of talent in all different skill sets just from the public sector's restructuring. Also what it's meant is because we've been in that recession, a lot of private sector organizations have been going through these restructures and they've let go a lot of talent as well. So there's a lot of that talent that has now gone back into the market. So I think at the moment where we're sitting in a market where there is a lot of talent sitting out there and employers have got a lot of choice for skill in the market. So the last thing a lot of people and employers are going to do is start looking outside of the country when we've already got so much talent inside the country. And let's be honest, the right thing to do is to help the people that are here, immigrants or not. It's just New Zealanders, people that are in this country right now that need work. It's only right for all of us to try and get our current people that are living in this country employed so that they can feed their families and put a roof over their heads. It would be wrong of us to neglect trying to hire people here locally when we've got the skill in country already and starting to go and getting people offshore and outside the country hired. It would be wrong. It wouldn't sit well with me. As much as I want every immigrant to be able to, or any potential immigrant to have what I've got and be here. And I know you'll say it's easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, but Brett, you're there, it's easy for you just to talk. I get it. But I'm just trying to give you a perspective and an understanding of why it is so tough out there for you guys to potentially get into this country. Start thinking and realizing that we've got some struggles that we've got to work through. And one of them is our unemployment. We've got to look after the people that are here first before we bring even more people into the country. I think the other thing you've got to realize is when our borders were closed in New Zealand, New Zealand was good. They really looked after the people. And I'm talking with COVID, okay, specifically. They closed those borders and it was really tight, where they locked down and kept their people safe, which was great. But it had a knock-on effect to the economy. It really hit the economy hard, and that's why they went into that recession. But when they opened up those borders, they really let in a lot of people. And we flooded the market with a lot of skill. But with the economy not doing so well post that as well, and now letting in a lot of people, it's unfortunately put us in a situation, and this again, in my opinion, and with the research that I've done, is we've got a market where there is a lot of people available, but not as many jobs to go around. So that's why it's making it extremely tough for people. And I think that's why one of the reasons you're really struggling to get those interviews and to actually get a foot in the door if you're outside the country and want to come here to New Zealand. What you also got to realize, and this is another thing that I've learned here, is besides you're going to look after your own and you're going to look after your people that are here, people are also going to look after their own, as in whether they're thinking it or not, or doing it intentionally or not, they will look after their people. So Kiwis are going to naturally want to look after Kiwis and give them jobs too. Whether they're doing it or not, consciously or not, it does happen. I like to believe that most are going to go and rather get the best skill for the job, which I really hope in general most do, but it is going to happen where some of them are going to look after their own as well. So then there is that sense of bias towards immigrants, which is tough. It's really tough. But you've got to understand, people are struggling here. All people, not just immigrants in New Zealand. Yes, there's a lot of us that are doing really well in comparison to the rest of the world. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom. I'm just trying to get you a bit of a lay of the land to realize that things are tough here as well. Okay, so employers and people hire people, okay? People work for people. Yeah, it's all about companies or whatever, but you are going to, and it's the right thing to do, is to help people in the country at the moment get jobs. That is the immediate need it's the right thing to do, 100% behind that. But I've also realized in New Zealand, a big thing around finding jobs is, and I believe it's still valid, all the information that a lot of us are giving out there, me included, where they're saying, okay, you've got to make sure you get your CVs in a professional state. You've got to try and make them more aligned to what Kiwi employers are looking for. That all helps. It helps you stand out that little bit better than anybody else. 100% you've got to do that. How to interview, how to be more relatable and informal and think about the actual values and, 100%. All of that training is good and it's all valid, 100% valid. But a big thing here in New Zealand is it's about networking. It's huge on networking. Half the hires that are going on out there haven't even been advertised on Seek. They haven't even been advertised on with recruiters or anything like that. It's who you know. It's getting to know those networks. Now you'll say, yeah, Brett, but how do I get to know those networks? I'm outside of the country. I'm just trying to give you the lay of the land and say why it's even that much more difficult for immigrants outside the country to get an interview. Because already there's this flood of skills sitting in country. Already there's people that know each other here and got networks. And of course, they're going to rely on those networks to try and help each other out, to get each other jobs. It's only natural and the right thing to do. But it does mean all of us immigrants that are outside the country or potential immigrants that want to come in, it's going to make it that much harder to even get an interview, let alone get into the country. So that's why it's tough out there at the moment. It's not easy. I think another thing that you've got to realize is I'm not saying all this stuff is doom and gloom and you'll never be able to get a job and, you're putting in all that effort and why bother? I'm not. I'm saying if this is really what you want and you want to be here and it's something that's right for your family and you've done the right pros and cons, you got to keep at it. You got to push through and have that grit. I just need you to realize it's not that easy at the moment and understand why it's not that easy at the moment. There's other factors at play at the moment. There's other issues that are happening that are outside of our control at the moment. So trying to recap, yes, there's that difficulty in New Zealand at the moment with regards to our economy, with regards to us coming out of a recession. We are coming out of the recession, so I do believe it's going to get better. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I do believe I'm hoping that our unemployment is reaching the ceiling of that 5% and it should hopefully turn. My opinion, I think it's only going to turn in the new fiscal year. So we're in 2025, July 2025 at the moment. I think it's only going to turn in January, where we'll start seeing it really starting to turn the other way. And what I mean by turn the other way, I mean, hopefully it'll get to a stage then where there are a lot more jobs available and a lot more people in country will start getting jobs. And once they've got enough jobs and businesses start thriving again and moving in the right direction, they will naturally want more people, and we won't have as many people here in New Zealand. So they would naturally start then, as long as the skill is not sitting here in country, then they would look to offshore. And that's when opportunities will open up for immigrants again. So I do believe there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I do believe it's not a train coming our way. So it will change, it will get better. But I think we've got to do the right thing to see through the tough times right now and look after the people that are in country and try to find them jobs. And that even goes for the immigrants that have lost their jobs at the moment. Of course, you want to try to find them jobs first. You know, they're here, they've packed everything up, they've spent everything they've got to be here. So if they've lost that job, it's important to try to find them a job before you try to get more people into the country. So I think that's why it's tough. Now, I've said all of this, but there is another caveat as well. We are a small country, and there's two things. We are still losing a lot of our own good talent here in country to other countries, particularly Australia. So we are seeing that there's an exit of a lot of our skills for a lot of reasons. It can be for the job security. It can be for potential better earnings in other countries, and like Australia, where they're also saying that potentially the cost of living is less. And it's a good debate that you can have, but we are genuinely seeing it in the numbers. So I've seen in the departure numbers, there's about 70,000 odd Kiwis alone. So it's Kiwi citizens that are leaving every single year. Remember, we only get in plus minus 150,000 immigrants every year. And of those 150,000, we are seeing 70,000 Kiwis that are leaving the country. So there is a bit of a brain drain as well. But with that brain drain is more of the higher end skill. It's the skill that we need. We are finding, when I say there's a lot of people available and skill on the market, a lot of that skill that's on the market is your low to mid skill level jobs. It's not your high end specialized skills. If you've got high end specialized skill, the likelihood of you not being employed is lower. I mean, it's just natural. We need those people. So they're going to have jobs. They're going to have work. That's why we've got the green lists. The green list tells you that we've got certain gaps in our skill sets. And those gaps at the moment is a lot in medical, in nursing. There's a lot in education, and there's a lot in IT, and even construction positions. And I'm not an immigration agent, so I'm not going to tell you. You'd have to see an actual immigration agent to get all the details of which are on the green list, or go to the relevant immigration websites and have a look. But there is obviously certain skills that are sought after. And those people in country with those skills are going to have jobs. And it still means that if you are a potential immigrant with those skills, you have got a pathway, and there is still a potential for you to come into the country, even right now, because we don't have that skill. And that is skill that we need. It's sought after skill. So do I think that everybody that wants to come here is going to be able to get jobs? The truth is no. Not everybody's going to be able to come to New Zealand. We just can't. We're not a big enough country to be able to cater for everyone. And I would love nothing more than everybody to have the opportunity that I have for me and my family. And I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity. And I know some people will give their left arm for that opportunity. And I would love that everybody could have it. But the truth is, not everybody is going to be able to immigrate, because we just cannot accommodate everybody in New Zealand. You just can't. But if you are somebody that's got a high-end skill, a sought-after skill, there is definitely an opportunity for you to move here. And you can still make it work, even with all the other challenges with our cost of living, housing, all the rest of it, it is relevant to what you earn as well. So you can still make it work, 100%. So I don't want to deter everyone. I'm trying to keep it real and just really get you to understand the lay of the land at the moment and what's going on and why some people are really struggling. But there still are opportunities for those that have got that high-end skill. I think what I wanted to do is maybe also just share a little bit of, I don't know, maybe my guide or my steps to keep in mind if you're immigrating. Because I don't want to end it on it's all doom and gloom. It's not. It's not all doom and gloom. As I said to you, I genuinely believe this is going to turn by the end of the year. We are trending upwards. We are heading in the right direction. People locally are doing the right thing by hiring people and talent that we've got in country. It's the right thing to do right now. We need to get our people employed and able to look after their families and provide for their family. It's the right thing to do. So we've got to focus on that. And I'm positive it will change. And once we've got people on the market currently in those low to mid-level skill sets, majority of them starting to get hired, and we see the trending down of our unemployment rate, then it will open up to others outside of the country in that low to mid skill level as well. And there will be further opportunities for people. So it will happen. There still definitely are opportunities for people that are on that high-end specialized skill. That's why we've got the green list. So there definitely still is opportunities for that. But don't fool yourself. The market is tough. Immigration is tough. It's not easy. And especially right now, it is tough to come into the country. But it's still, in my opinion, one of the best things I've ever done. And I would love nothing more than other people to have the same opportunity I've had. So I think the first thing that you would want to do if you are looking to come to New Zealand and immigrate here, the first thing you got to do is you really got to make sure you know your why, you know your reason and your purpose and your reason for wanting to be here and why you're picking everything up from and literally moving you and your family from whatever country outside of New Zealand on the other side of the world, and why you actually coming to New Zealand. It's going to be so important to know that why, because I'm telling you, once you start this immigration journey, and you get here, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. And on those bad days, you're going to have to be able to know your why and be very sure of your why, because you're going to have to look to that why to remind yourself why you did this and why you're here and why you got to keep pushing and why you got to have that grit. Because if you weren't clear on that why and you didn't fill, like I've said, those two bags up with issues on both sides, because don't fool yourself, New Zealand has issues as well, okay? But you've got to fill those two bags with all your pros and cons and pretty much say, okay, staying in the country I'm in, there's the pros and cons. Moving to New Zealand, pros and cons. And you really got to, in my opinion, your bag with all the positives, the one that's heavier with positives and filled with positives, that's the one you choose, because you're going to have to remember, that's why I did this. Keep going, don't give up. So my first step is you really got to be sure about your why and your reasoning for wanting to move to New Zealand. Be very clear on that, because you're going to need to look back on that on those tough days. The other thing you got to do is you really got to do your homework, okay? And you got to evaluate your options with employers out here. What do I mean by that? I mean by doing your homework, you do your research on what the cost of living is here, okay? And I'm not saying it's only all about the money, but I can tell you, if at least you can financially not only just afford to survive here, but thrive here, and you've got enough money in the bank, okay, or you're earning enough, then you can actually make it work. And then you can start dealing with all the other challenges, because there's more challenges than just the financial side. But I genuinely believe if financial is not working, geez, never mind everything else that's hard. If your finances aren't even making it, you're really going to struggle here. And it's going to be one hell of a journey. And potentially that's why you may not be able to make it work. So really do your homework around the finances. What I mean by that is you would want to go look on places like Seek and Trade Me and look at all the different jobs that are available. Look at what they're paying for your skill set. Once you get an average and an idea of what they're paying for your skill set, go do a little bit of research of what the actual cost of living is to live here in New Zealand. For if you're a family of four, what it costs to live a decent life here in New Zealand for a family of four. Or if it's just you and your partner, or just you, but you've got to do that research so you know how much it's going to cost to see if the skill set I've got and the job that I could potentially get there, will it pay enough for me to actually make it here? Not just make it and survive, but thrive. I do a full tutorial. I've done it recently in the last month or two in 2025. I think it was May of 2025. I put it out there on my YouTube channel, where I spent 2 hours breaking down in detail how much it costs to live here in New Zealand, with a lot of other information that'll help you answer all those questions, to see that, okay, with my skill sets, if I had to get a job that pays X amount of money, can I actually make it work here? And not just work, but actually thrive here. So do that homework. You really have to do that homework, okay? Once you've done the homework and you realize, okay, I know why I want to do this, and I've done the pros and cons, and it really makes sense for me and my family to move to New Zealand, and you're set. This is the right thing to do. And you've done your homework, and you realize with the skill sets and everything that you got, you can find a job, and it'll pay enough for you not to just survive, but actually thrive and do well for you and your family. Now you know there's potential there financially. The next thing that I really suggest is you got to understand your visa pathway. Okay, understand what visas you would qualify for, and not only what visas you would qualify for, but how can you become a resident? How can you become a citizen? So you've got a pathway to actually plant roots and make New Zealand home. And the way to do this is you've got to go for professional help, in my opinion. It's the way I did it. You can try do it all by yourself, but I'm telling you, the visa stuff and everything changes all the time. And to stay on top of that and to play around with moving your whole family to the other end of the world, I think it's a lot of stress on your shoulders to try do it by yourself. And you'll see on social media, a lot of people say, do it by yourself. These immigration agents charge a fortune and it's a waste of money. Everybody's going to have their opinion, and everybody's going to be able to try back it up with whatever information they, from experience. What I'm telling you, in my opinion, we used an immigration agent, and yes, it was a lot of money, and yes, there's times you think, geez, I paid them a lot of money for that. But I'm telling you, when you're moving your family to the other end of the world and there's so many other things that's unknown and it's so difficult and stressful, I did appreciate that we had their support, especially when it came to the visa side, so that I knew there was a definite pathway for me to follow, and there was a definite way to be able to get our residency, our permanent residency, our citizenship, so that if I packed everything up and spent everything I have to get my family here, that I could make it home and stay here. And I wasn't going to get here and go, oh crap, now I don't have, something changed and I can't get my residency, and now I can only stay for X money, and then I've got to go back to where I came from. No, that wouldn't work for me. It's far too risky. So my advice is really, you would want to go to an immigration agent and confirm you definitely have a pathway to making New Zealand home. What I mean by that is getting your residency and eventually your citizenship. So know what that path is and what's involved with regards to that pathway. And what you also want to do is, if you really have decided your reason for being here is strong and you're 100% behind it's the right thing for you and your family, and you've done your homework and you could get a job that pays enough, and now you've engaged an immigration agent, what you also want to be able to do, where I was talking about getting that job offer, a lot of companies don't want to or can't wait months and months and months for a position to be filled. So if you are that immigrant that they potentially wanted to, even with you being on the green list and a sought after skill set, and they're prepared to take you on, they're not going to wait months and months and months for you to get here to New Zealand. So what you got to do is you got to not only understand your pathway with that immigration agent, but you got to get to a point where you are visa ready. So you've worked with your immigration agent and you've done everything, and there's a lot of paperwork and a lot that you have to go through, but you want to get to that point where you've got everything done for your visas. You are ready to pull that trigger. All you need now is that job offer. And once you got the job offer, you're visa ready and you can get moving quickly to be able to get the visa and get here and start that job. So you don't want to wait or have the employer wait more than 2 to 3 months. If it's more than 2 to 3 months, they're not going to be prepared to wait. Especially if there's other people that are available that can start quicker. Now, I am talking more to, in the way that New Zealand is right now, it is people that are on the green list. It is people that are sought after high-end skill. Yes, you guys are the ones that are going to be able to get their opportunities now, but you still need to be visa ready. You still need to move quickly. So again, my advice is getting that immigration agent understanding your pathway, and then working together with them to get visa ready. So by the time you actually do get that job offer, you can move quickly in getting your visa sorted out so that you can get here and start working with them, so that you secure that job, that you don't lose that opportunity. Because if you have to wait more than 2 to 3 months, I'm telling you, if they have to wait more than 2 to 3 months, I wonder if they'll keep it open. They may potentially withdraw that opportunity, which would be really sad. The next thing you want to also really think about is that it's expensive moving countries, okay? It costs a lot, especially if you come from a country like, I'm talking from my experience from South Africa, where our rand our currency is so low and so weak that I had to take all our wealth, our money, our everything, and pretty much divide it by 10 or maybe even 10.5. So it wasn't, I wish it was only just halved, but it was a tenth of what we had in value because we had to convert it to New Zealand dollars. So just that alone made it extremely difficult. Never mind the costs of all the flights and moving, if you move with pets, moving the pets across and getting the containers sorted out and all the other unforeseen, and it's expensive. So as much as you're doing your homework about what you can earn and the cost of living to live here and making sure that you can make it on that salary here, it's also doing your investigation and working out, well, what is the actual cost? Because there's immigration costs here for immigration agents and everything, yep. There's also your flights, yep. And there's also the containers and everything else, yep. Or maybe you don't take a container, but then you have to start up and kit out a house eventually here, whatever else. My point I'm trying to make, it costs a lot. You have to really do your homework on that cost as well, and have a plan. I've spoken about it on one of my other podcasts before. Have a plan for moving here. This is a big thing. And also don't underestimate how this is going to challenge you emotionally. This is going to challenge your mental well-being a lot. You are going to need grit when you're doing this. Don't underestimate that. This is not an easy thing to do. So getting back to it, I know I keep recapping, but I'm just trying to really drive home. You've got to think these things through over and above just the lay of the land of New Zealand and what's going on at the moment. You've got to make sure you've got a clear why you're doing this for your family and that it's the right thing. You've got to make sure that you're doing your homework. And what I mean by homework is looking at what jobs you can get with your skill set and how much it pays and how much it actually costs to live here, making sure you get that help from an immigration agent, understanding your pathway to actually getting your residency and your citizenship here, and all the costs associated with that, and making sure you get visa ready so that when you get that job offer, you can move quickly on getting that job and actually getting here, and understanding that that's going to cost you a lot to get here. It's not a cheap thing to do, and it is emotionally draining. So be prepared for that. You really got to think these things through. And then the last thing you've got to think about is when you get here, it's still not easy. There's so many other things you're going to have to do, and there's so much you're going to have to learn in such a short period of time. And I've shared this on many of my podcasts and content, is that the challenges around being an immigrant in a new country and the stuff you don't know and the stuff you struggle with and the stuff that is from the smallest thing of just trying to pump your tires with air to filling your car with fuel to having to mow your own lawn. And I know I'm talking from a South African perspective now, and some people say, gee, you're spoiled brat. But it's all these little things that add up. How the medical health system works here, how it works with your kids here, just the little cultural nuances with the workspace and the banter, all of these things put a toll on you and takes time to learn. So as much as it's hard to, at the very beginning, find this job and do all the stuff that I've spoken about, you get through all that and you finally get here, and it doesn't end because there's still more you need to get through for another year. So I think really what I was trying to share today is that I know it's tough out there for many of you at the moment. Those that are trying to immigrate and get here have got challenges just trying to find that first interview and going through so many rejections or just non-responses in positions that you're applying for. But I wanted to give you a bit of a lay of the land why and what's going on in the country at the moment and the challenges that we've got. I do believe it's going to turn. I do believe it's going to get better. I do believe there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train heading our way. I am positive about the outlook. I do think it'll change. I think it's going to take time. I think it's only going to be in the new physical year in 2026 that things are going to start improving and going on an upward trend. I still believe there's opportunities for people that are on the green list with that skill. I still think it's tough for you to get in front of the right employer and get those interviews, but you've got a higher chance than anybody else at the moment because of the state of New Zealand and where we are at the moment with unemployment, etc., and all the other stuff I've spoken about. I do know it's also tough for a lot of those people that are in country that have lost jobs and everything that's going on. So it's the right thing for us to try as employers to find jobs for those people first. It's what's going to help us turn the economy and the country around to eventually even then have the ripple effect of helping others eventually be able to move to New Zealand and make it home as well. So this is why I wanted to share, guys, is give you the lay of the land and give you a little bit of a reality check of what's going on so you can try and understand why things are tough out there, but also give you a little bit of hope. I do believe things are going to change. Okay, so those points that I spoke about now, so there's 5 of them and I'll recap on those. You got to keep those in mind. It is the right approach if you want to still make New Zealand home. It is still, in my opinion, one of the best countries to live in, and I'm so grateful to be here and to have this opportunity. And I want it for more and more people. Of course I want, but I also know it's not going to be possible for everybody. But for those of you that do have that high-end skill and are sought after and want to move across to New Zealand, keep those 5 things in mind. So the first being, be very clear on why you're doing this, because you're going to need to refer back to and remind yourself why you're doing it when you're going through those hard, difficult days. You also need to do your homework. Make sure that the job offer that you're going to get, or the skill that you've got and the jobs that you can fill here, do pay enough for you to not only make it work here or just survive here, but to be able to thrive here. And then you want to be able to, in my opinion, work with an immigration agent, get yourself visa ready so you can move quickly once you get that job offer, but also so you can be very clear on what that path is to residency and citizenship here. That to me would be a deal breaker. I wouldn't be able to move and take the risk of moving my family to the other end of the world, but not being sure if we'd be able to actually get our residency and actually become citizens, so that we wouldn't have done all of this to just be told, well, sorry, you got to go back to the country you came from. That would be far too risky for me. So you need to work with an immigration agent on that, in my opinion, and understanding your pathways. You need to know this is an expensive thing financially. This is not an easy or a cheap thing to do. As well as it's not easy, it's emotionally draining. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to do a lot of planning here, and you're going to have to show a lot of grit and keep going to make this work. It's not an easy thing to do. And even when you get here, there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to still find challenging, and it's still going to be tough to settle. It takes a good year or 2 to start getting into a bit of a routine and a comfort. Oh, okay, I'm feeling like I'm settling and I can actually make this work. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. I know sometimes it can be a little bit of a downer and a tough topic to talk about. I know it could even be controversial. Some people will listen to this and have a lot of different opinions to what I've shared. But I thought it's an important one for people to try and understand why things are tough at the moment. And I just want to leave with, I do believe it's going to turn. I do believe there's still opportunities, and it is going to improve and it is going to get better. So just hang in there, guys. Don't give up. It is going to get better. But we just got to get through this tough time. If this resonated with you, or if this helped you, please share it with others that may need to hear this, so it can help them understand and just keep them motivated and going and not to give up. Please share it with them. And I ask, if you can, also follow me on my YouTube channel. It's Soft Landing NZ. I share not only all these podcasts, but a lot of other content to try and help with how-tos and guides on how to make it work and how to make New Zealand home, so that we can make this easier for us immigrants. So please go subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel, and share this podcast with whoever needs to hear this, so we can try and help as many immigrants as possible make New Zealand home. With that, guys, I just want to thank you again for listening, and you must keep well and keep safe, and we'll speak soon. Cheers.